Hello and welcome to another episode of the Viva Bastardo Show, part of the Hagerty podcast network. This podcast is brought to you by Inbound Motorsports. Now, if you follow me at all on Instagram, you will know that Rami, who runs Inbound Motorsports, is totally responsible for the Maserati Shamal, the Mitsubishi Pajero Evolution, and the Lancia Delta. I've all bought through Rami, so I've had personal experience with him. He's great. If you're looking for an obscure car or a fantastic car, an interesting car from Japan or elsewhere, he is your main geezer for this kind of antics. This podcast is also brought to you by Vital Oxide, which is a powerful odor eliminator, which, let me tell you, will be extremely handy for the Mitsubishi Pajero Evo I just bought from Japan, which was owned, I think, by like a heavy-duty smoker for 10 years. So that is definitely going in the Mitsubishi, and then I'm going to be driving it around, and I won't smell like a smoker anymore. This podcast is also brought to you by Economy Signs, who have been hand-painting signs on cars since 1973. They do extraordinary work. They've been doing rally liveries. They've done all sorts of fantastic stuff on cars. I've seen it. It's glorious. It's very tempting to do it to one of my cars. Be sure to check out their website in the description below. Today we have Kenny Schachter here with us. He is an artist, an art dealer, art collector, a crazy car fiend. He's had over 150 different cars, one of which is the subject of some extraordinary, horrifying lawsuit. Also, he's commissioned cars by the incredible architect Zaha Hadid. What else have I forgotten? I feel like there's so much to talk about with Kenny. Anyway, Kenny Schachter, we're delighted to have you on the Viva Bastardo Show.
Let's take it.
Does he need an introduction?
Well, we're not rolling yet, I don't think.
We are rolling.
I don't think we're rolling yet.
Are we rolling?
Rolling.
No, I think she said we're rolling.
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling.
We are rolling. Okay, so let's let us introduce Kenny to the audience.
So, Kenny, you are probably the closest person I know to a pirate that I've ever met.
Pirate?
Yeah, or a bastardo.
An old Jewish pirate.
Yeah, you're an old, like Long John Silverstein.
I'm going to leave.
What?
Now.
That's it? Already the walkout?
I'm finished. Yeah.
He offended you in the first 30 seconds.
That was the
I'm
quickest.
too narcissistic to walk out, don't worry.
That's what we're sharing. We have that in common. So you are, an art dealer, art collector. No. Okay, you know what? You tell me, because everything, I'm going to get the finger wag.
You're going to get worse.
I'm going to get worse as
a
this thing goes on.
little miniature can of black coffee thrown in your face.
So why don't you tell everyone?
I am an artist.
Okay.
A writer.
Yeah.
Professor.
Yeah.
Don't ask. Don't make a joke there. Curator. I have dealt. Used car dealer. That'll
and
do.
a car collector.
I used to be, but I had an awful car experience, so I'm in recovery.
Well, do you want to?
Let's talk about some good stuff, and then we can.
Let's.
This is like
where did you
Oprah,
guys
man.
first meet? Because I feel like there's enough banter here where you guys have definitely at least maybe thrown some punches at some point.
That's a touchy
I forgot
subject.
how I first became aware of you. I think it was some mutual. I don't have many friends, but it must have been a mutual one.
Well, you were living
somewhere.
You were living in England at the time.
Yes, and then I came to your garage.
And okay, so that's a bit of a touchy subject because you came to the garage, but because I'm so senile, I don't remember that at all. Though now I remember it. But then when I said I'm really excited to meet you, like I've already met you, fucking idiot, and I thought, oh shit, we have already met.
Can you capture the eye roll?
It's visible. It's audibly visible.
Audible.
So yeah, you were living in London. I can't remember who the mutual friend was, but I remember you told me some story of driving your kids to school in a Lancia Delta Integrale and then getting stuck like on London Bridge or something.
I was on Hammersmith Bridge and the car broke down.
Yeah.
I had 4 kids in the bright yellow Gallo. What was it?
Gallo Sinistra, is it?
Yes. And then when I got out to push the car, a biker in the typical pull yourself up by the bootstraps British mentality, a biker got off his bike, told me to get back in the car, and proceeded to push me and my whole family across the bridge.
Did you ask it to push you to your destination while you're back there? It's only a couple more miles.
Since you're a Lancia guy, I could see by your appropriated logo. Somehow the car just started while I was waiting to be recovered.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it something you had done?
Once the key turns, I draw blood. I always say I have the lungs of a mechanic because in London, I had a car under my desk. I had 3 cars in my office. So I breathe them regularly, but once the key turns, I draw a blank. So my mechanic, who I became the dearest, closest friends with, he got me an engine kit to try to, so I would understand the notion of a combustion engine.
Oh, you're the same way as me, man.
But
You're
I
like
kept it boxed.
You're a mechanical village idiot because I have no idea.
I'm just an idiot in general.
Well, yeah, my idiocy spans many genres, but it's intercontinental.
I'm a dilettante idiot.
It is intercontinental, the expanse of my idiocy. But I know, well, for instance, I don't know if I'm sure you follow me keenly on Instagram, all my goings on, man. I know
I'm looking right now. I can't, the anticipation is killing me.
You can't wait for my next post. I recently bought a Mitsubishi Pajero Evolution.
I know. I actually scoped one when I was in London. I almost bought one before.
Did you?
Yeah.
What happened?
I didn't find one that was in good enough condition.
Okay. Because I tried to do something on the car and then subsequently it broke it. I mean, not in a big way. It was just like a loose connection. But that's every time I ever try and do things to cars, I always end up making it worse every time. Like it's
I never tried.
Really?
I clean it.
Yeah. Do you clean?
Well, I remember hearing, I don't know if it was Jeremy Clarkson, because I mean, aside from his TV show in the UK, he wrote op-ed articles. I mean, the guy has a Herculean work ethic.
Right.
And he wrote some extraordinary, like, political pieces, really acerbic sense of humor. But he said, like, washing cars is for idiots. And for me, because, like, cars...
Well, as a self-proclaimed idiot, that's perfect for you and I.
Okay,
then.
relax. Take it easy. I came to cars through industrial design. Okay. Like, I'm terrible at sports. I have no interest in car racing and sports. But I was always interested in the design of a car. And when you drive it, you don't see it. And you park it, you leave it. And I lived with a handful of them. Literally, I had the nose of a car under my desk.
So what was the
last one was an AC 3000 ME.
Wait, what?
Where the engine was in the back seat, and when it started to smoke one drive, that didn't end very well. I had 150 cars over 10 years when I was living in the UK.
Okay, well, that's a massive
My favorite was the Imp, just because of the name.
You had a Hillman Imp?
A few. That's the only car I ever...
So wait, bring out the Imp?
That's the only one that I ever made my money back and didn't manage to lose money on.
Well, look, I mean, first of all, that you've had more than one is kind of a biblical gesture in and of itself.
And they actually thought that when the Imp came out, they actually thought it would give the Mini a run for its money, that it would eclipse Mini sales, which I love the Mini because it was the most democratic form of incredible design.
Yeah.
And it was equally coveted by rich people and not rich people, and affordable by both.
You know what I love
and that's really my whole sentiment for my life, for my art career, for my writing, for my teaching. That, I mean, let's get serious for 1 second. Then we could resort to me calling you an asshole for the rest of this.
My face just dropped. I was like, oh shit, he's going to start being serious. He's going to be serious.
I just love, that is the coolest thing, because it's such a stupid misconception that great cars and great art and great anything is expensive. In this reductive society we live in, people tend to equate, like Oscar Wilde said, people know the price of everything and the value of nothing.
Sure.
And like you can get an incredible classic Mini for like $5,000, and it's probably, out of all the 150 cars I've ever had, a little souped up Mini. My mechanic like engineered his own supercharger and turbocharger, which he equally affixed to the engine. And that's the funnest car I've ever driven in my life.
I think that's in part because people confound price for quality and or excellence. And as you say, there's things that are relatively cheap that are extraordinary. Okay,
let's get back to making fun of you.
Okay. Well, I actually was just thinking about what's interesting about the Imp and the Mini is that was an era when you could call cars Imp and Mini and people would buy them. Like, can you imagine calling car an Imp now? No one would buy it. It has to be called
F-150 Avenger.
It has to be called something manly, like this is the Deltoid. This is my 12-cylinder Delta bicep.
I think that's your medication for your what do you call
my piles? My hemorrhoids?
Thank you.
If I'm going to be abused, I might as well just do it myself, man.
Please, because I'm so old I can't remember like the punchlines to my own jokes.
That's right. I could just dart in there and take advantage.
I may actually begin to like you.
That's very long shot, man. But do you know what I mean? There's something fascinating about the naming of things. Because I remember I read a book by Martin Amis. I think it's called London Fields. And in that book, have you ever read any of his work? He's a genius writer. And in it, he talks about a car called the Leviathan. And he's making fun, right? But then now, there was a car called the Armada. And now there is actually an Armada. You know,
wasn't that a really ugly Renault or something?
No, the Armada is now like a massive SUV. But I love the fact that, you know, it's actually kind of fascinating if you think about names now. Like names now, like, you know, oh look, it's the Honda Invasion. Oh look, it's the Mercedes Blitzkrieg. Like, you know, they're all kind of named. They have these manly names. Whereas in the 60s and 50s, things were sort of Imp.
That
Mini,
is, I mean, Imp is like
Superleggera,
Viagra or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry, I have an Imp.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, see your doctor about your Imp.
I mean, I bought cars for crazier reasons. Normally, the furniture in a Renault Turbo 1, the seats in a 2.7. I like the hardware of a 2.7 RS lightweight seat. It has this crazy little screw, which is just extraordinary.
The Renault Turbo interior, the original Gandini interior is unbelievable.
Right, so I had trouble driving the car, so I kept the seats and got rid of the car. That's all that remains. I actually made a chair from the seating of a Turbo. I bought that car because the seats were probably the coolest seats I've ever seen.
The whole thing is
in
amazing.
An automobile. Yeah, but I could never downshift I had a hard time grunching the gears going from in the dog leg. I could never do like second to first. It just never ended well.
Was it red or blue?
It was blue, and then the blue seats I found a little dull because the car was so exotic. And then I found an original pair of red seats and swapped them. And then when I sold the car, of course, I took a monster loss when I auctioned it. The new owner got back to me and said they would like the original seats, but they already had bases mounted to them, and one of them is in an exhibition I curated right now. And I just sold the pair.
You sold it?
Yeah.
So amongst I didn't know that you had 150 cars. So can you give us a smattering? Give me a smattering of like what are some of the more...
Well, some of the more crazy things.
Yeah.
I had an Ascari built for me from the shell of Klaus Wack. I believe that was his name. He was an oil entrepreneur, Dutch, and had a factory in the UK. And he had these crazy hypercars called Ascari. He actually had a track in Sevilla in Spain where he copied all of the corners of his favorite racetracks. And then I heard it was among the most dangerous tracks, and I actually went there. And
did you drive on it?
Yes, in a Radical. It was really fun. But then I saw someone have a terrible crash.
But I thought you were a terrible driver.
I am. So what? It's not gonna...
You can still have fun as a terrible driver.
Well, that's true.
When I did the school run, I used to imagine Hyde Park. I was on a rally and the bikers in those Lycra pants were the trees. Which my dream was always to sort of like graze one so they fall over, but I don't cause any serious injury to them.
It's just more of a psychological injury, really.
Sport.
Yeah.
Sport. But I've driven on the ice. I went to the Nürburgring. There were like 75 turns. And I would start daydreaming, like, am I going to drink tonight? What it's going to be for dinner? So like that wasn't a terribly good idea.
Did you crash?
No, I had two cars. I had a Dino, which I traded for a Mitsubishi.
Wait, a 246 Dino or a 308?
I had a shitty Dino I traded for Mitsubishi. That value, it was like fell apart.
But hang on, there's multiple...
It fell apart at the gas station when I first filled up the tank. I don't know. It was a Ferrari 246.
Okay. Oh, it's the 246. Okay, yeah. I had one of those.
I took it to the Nürburgring, and I sold it from the Nürburgring because it was rolling around like a Cadillac.
Yeah, man,
that is not a sports car. And my friend who I was with, who had like a D-Type and all these crazy cars, Pink Floyd's old 50s Jag that they drove in the Pan America. What's a race in Mexico?
Yeah.
And I had a Caterham R300, and that was wicked.
Okay.
That's
fun. A serious piece of kit.
I could not daydream when I was driving the Caterham around the carousel turn that's like cobblestone. My teeth fell out. It was extraordinary.
The veneers look amazing, man. The Hollywood veneers.
I'm missing a few. But then the Ascari...
I've just realized
I waited like almost a year. You don't have to ask me any questions.
No, I realized, man, you just half a cup of coffee, I'm just going to let you go.
Try my fourth or fifth. I stuttered too until I was around 14 or 15.
Okay.
So that's why I never shut up because I couldn't speak for the first 15 years.
You're still catching up.
Let me take a breath. I couldn't. The Ascari had an agricultural gearbox, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
It took two hands to get that into gear.
Okay.
got rid of that one quick enough.
What other crazy things? You surely must have had a Citroën. I feel like you should have had a Citroën.
I had a Peugeot T16.
I had it,
but that was a bit dull.
I found the T16 great because I
was too slow for something so fierce looking.
I spoke to I became friends with a guy in Switzerland, a young guy who'd never had one but was obsessed with them. And he knew everything about them, everything about where parts were, who had the parts, everything. And he said, he gave me he said, you've got to turn up the turbo a little bit, you've got to do this, a couple 100%. Of small things, and it made the car. And I also had a Group B exhaust. And it was quicker than the Delta S4.
I was with a mutual friend whose dad used to own Aston in London, and he was with a friend of his, and he introduced me, and he goes, "Some schmuck paid 150 grand for this T16 at auction last night." Well, he was talking to the schmuck. And
did you have a bunch of Group B stuff, or you just
I love homologation cars. Same. So like rally street versions of race cars. I had, but let me just think of some of the funnier. I'm not much of a pre-war person because I can never get them into gear. But I had a 1939 Lancia Aprilia.
Oh, those are amazing.
Every time I got in the car, another piece dropped into the street. That was, I think the favorite car that for the school run, I had, everything is manual because otherwise I have a micro short attention span like a mosquito.
Well, it doesn't, so you don't come across that way, man. Let me tell you. You come across very focused.
Fuck you. So I had like an XJ6 Mark I that was manual, an 86 Mercedes station wagon.
Is the XJ6 is that the 12-cylinder coupe from the 70s?
It was 6, I think.
It's not the 2-door.
It was the earliest iteration, like the Mark I. Don't ask me too many technical questions.
What's I was trying to think of a technical question to ask you, but then I realized I have none to ask because I don't know how cars work.
But I have to say, I always love early 911s. That's probably, I think in life you're either a Ferrari person or a Porsche person.
But I'm neither.
But you've had both.
I've never owned I had a 308 GT4 and I had a 246
I like the
Dino.
wedgie one.
Yeah, and I had the wedgie one and I had a 246 Dino GT. But I've never owned like a real Ferrari badge.
Too expensive, too flashy, and they never run.
It's a bit, I don't know, man. No, I also say, I think and this may be controversial, I know will shock you, because ready, Kenny, prepare yourself a controversy, man, because I know you.
Where's my seatbelt?
I know you've never experienced controversy before, but I feel like I wonder how many beautiful Ferraris Ferrari actually made. Because I feel like they kind of,
the 60s cars are museum works.
Yeah, the 60s stuff is amazing.
And I like the weird, quirky ones, like the wedge one you mentioned.
Sure, the 308 GT4.
I wouldn't go as far as a Mondial. That's one of the ugliest cars I've ever seen in my life.
I like the Mondial, man.
Of course.
I think the Mondial in silver as a coupe is kind of genius.
Gross.
What?
I like the 400.
You had a Hillman
The 400.
Oh, come on.
Manual. Come on.
Manuel.
That's a cool car.
No, I don't know, man. The 400 is
calm
pretty
down.
ugly.
It's okay, Aggie.
I'm like...
Don't get too excited.
This is me normally.
You and me both.
Yeah. I thought the 400 is a bit... I mean, I like it.
I said to my kid when I was driving in an old 911, I said, I love the way these cars look inside. And he goes, "It's so simple with the gauges." I'm like, "No, in the garage where it can't get hit by an SUV.
Inside a house.
No dirt, no chips. No. I just love to smell them and to look at them and to really enjoy the way they're put together."
I mean, I've had a bunch of Porsches, but I've never, I don't know, I felt like, what? Actually, I'll say this. Owning a Porsche is utter misery, because when it comes to selling Porsches, Porsche people are the worst people in the world to buy Porsches, because they show up with 14 experts, paint meters, sticks on mirrors that you're supposed to check under the car for bombs, all sorts. We
won't get into the background of the family that
that's a
built them.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. But it's utter nightmare. I mean, I had a Porsche 924 Carrera GTS Club Sport, which they made 12.
I had a 924 GT.
Yeah, I had one of those too.
Wicked car.
Yeah, it was great. So I had
that. Was a fun car.
And I found the Club Sport. I sold it, bought and it was my car had been raced. It was all this race history. It had been owned by who was that guy who had waste disposal? He was a privateer racer in the 80s. Bayshore.
Oh yeah, the guy who took the garbage out.
Yeah, he took the garbage.
The waste disposal.
Mr. Waste Management.
No, but because he was famous. It was.
I think I even may know that some entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Huig.
He used to buy like 935s from the factory. So
he's Googling waste disposal race car.
I had that car and it had been raced and there was pictures of it racing. And then I was trying to sell it and some guy came, with like with a paint meter. I was like, listen, man, this car's been raced. It's not going to have perfect
As
paint.
you start to talk about race cars, we're going to get into the one cancerous car story that I have, which plagues me for 10 years.
All right.
The car gave you cancer?
No, the car is cancer. Not the car. The car is perfect.
All right,
it's the
come on, man.
scumbags that are surrounding it.
Give us the whole.
Do you have a good legal team?
Huge legal team.
But but I think a 2.7 RS lightweight is probably the greatest all-around sports car ever made for the road.
What? What about a Maserati Shamal?
No.
That's like a drug dealer's car. From
Man, have you ever seen
Miami
that car?
Vice or
that
something?
car is genius.
Don't point at me.
Don't point at me, kid. All
The
right.
Shamal is like the Dutch drug dealer car.
I had a Maserati, and every time the warning light went on, which was every day, the car would only drive like 5 miles. It became restricted when the warning. I bought the car because it had the boomerang headlights, the 3200.
Yeah,
on the back, it had these exquisite. I mean,
Those
who
are-
else
those
buys
are-
a car?
those are amazing.
And it had the craziest clock I've ever seen inset into a dashboard.
It's that oval vulva-shaped clock.
Excuse me?
That's kind of what it looks
Control
like.
yourself.
That's
man.
what
This is a family show, Phil.
It's
Easy
kind of-
does it,
I'm just-
Tiger.
I'm just
Easy
saying,
does it.
It has this. It's that.
You're
tradition-
revving up.
I have to go and relax.
All I could say is it had a Ferrari engine, and I would use it. I remember one of the kids' friends turning white like a ghost when I fishtailed around the corner on the way to school at 7:30 in the morning.
But wait, you were going to tell it. You were going
No,
to
I
talk
don't. I'm not ready yet. I need some.
You
more
know what?
coffee.
But wait, I do want to hear about your verdict on the 2.7.
I just think, well, aesthetically, it kind of looks like me. Not to be.
well, like I was going to.
I look like a mouse.
I mean, he was correct about being a narcissist, for sure. That was...
I look like, because I'm in relatively good shape except for the middle. I can't blame it on COVID because I've been like this for too long.
Everyone who's in their 60s or 70s, as you are, Kenny.
I walked here from 62nd Street this morning. I look like a snake that swallowed a mouse. That's kind of like how I would define what a Porsche looks like. I just think you could see forwards. I've had a Ginetta, the new version of the Ginetta, which I had to be airlifted into and out of. That wasn't very graceful. All kinds of crazy, obscure. I love obscure cars. I don't like anything.
I know, but that's where
life.
we cross over because I'm obsessed with obscurity.
Yes, you give me a run for the money in that department.
I know. Finally.
But I just think, if you could just turn the key to an old Porsche a year after driving it last, and it starts.
I know.
And it runs. And it's really fun to drive, easy to drive. And the more you apply, the more aggressive. I've written for Classic Porsche magazine, also Ferrari magazine, and a bunch of others. And I've had all kinds of different versions of the RS because I love the stripped out, sports focused cars. So I've had 964 Club Sports and 2.7 from 73.
I had an RS America. I knew that would fill you with revulsion.
There's nothing RS about that.
No, what do you mean?
It's more American than RS. It had
had
seats. It had cloth seats, and the same engine is a 3.2.
Yeah, it had those door cards. With the
You just like the label on the back of it because
No,
you're a player.
I am. That's what I say. Hey, look, it's RS America.
When you drive a 964 RS, you could feel a cigarette butt that you roll over on the street.
Right. No, I know. I was actually interested
Really
in buying
fun.
an RS. What's
European.
that? The Euro?
Not the pink color.
The pink color.
course.
Of course,
I knew it. I knew it. How did I know that?
What's that called? Ruby Stone.
Oh, yes.
I love that color. You don't like that color?
Next subject.
But that's a form of red.
No, it's pink.
Yeah. It's
Pink bordering on purple.
Yeah, it's kind
Pink.
of. It's
So you don't classify that as like...
No,
it's
I don't
pink,
like
dark
red. I
pink.
don't like red sports cars.
I don't like red cars.
I hate red cars.
Although I'm sure I've had a few, but
I've
I
had a few too, but
Abarth 124 Fiat that I took to the Targa Florio. I was invited by Fiat. It was a barn find, but it was in perfect. I love old car. I hate restored cars. There's nothing that really annoys me as much as a restored seat in a car.
You know what? It's the same for
Again
me.
with the
it's the
finger.
same for
Stop
me, man.
pointing at
Because
me.
I'm very Mediterranean, man. I got a lot of hand gesticulation.
You're from what do you call it?
Spain. What do you call it? England. It's called England. What do you call
I know.
that?
Where are the chaps? Where's Kate Moss from?
Essex. No, the thing I was going to say is I'm the same way, man. When you see often in like 50s and 60s stuff where they've kind of, those seats are kind of like, they're kind of like swollen, engorged foreskins. You know what I'm. You know
that
exactly.
that is
what?
way
What?
no. That's
No?
not.
You're
You're a sick puppy, man.
freak. I can't even answer that one.
Everyone
You
knows
just-
exactly what I'm talking about.
Nobody knows
What?
they just,
No one knows what I'm talking about. They just
They
humor
do
me?
look, when you started in the right path, they look swollen.
Yeah, they're engorged.
But
they're
then, like,
turgid.
the penis reference was just like, okay.
What? Do you have to sit down?
Whatever.
Again?
Do I? Do you want to go into the bathroom and relieve yourself and get excited?
Already
about
taken
it?
care of, Kenny.
Lovely.
Already-
Thanks for sharing.
I like to take the edge off. So, but I hate that when I love like when you see an old Jag and it's got this beautiful worn like sort of threadbare
course.
leather seat or something. That's, to me, that's beautiful.
You want to smell the crotch of the 7 people that drove it before.
Yeah, you can't. Well, there has. I don't understand why people. I wish
No,
there
it's
was,
gross.
Yeah.
If you want a new car, get a new car. Don't get an old car and then. But also in terms of as we veer towards the realm of criminality, people think that the art world is rife with corruption and crime, and is a cesspool of corrupt. Like picking up, I always say it's like picking up a rock with 300 worms intertwined. But the car world is much worse.
Is
the
it?
car world, I find, is just literally. I mean, I've had the worst commercial experience. As I'm slowly, incrementally inching towards this horrific
the
story
poor
is so
story.
painful.
What? Okay,
But it's going to consume the rest of our conversation. Maybe is there anything else you want to talk about before I?
before you.
Well,
you
I mean,
plunge
I
into the-
have so many questions because you're saying
Who are you?
Who am I? Who am I?
Matt's the producer.
Obviously, I'm the Sherpa for the show.
Yeah,
I
he
see.
just keeps us on the from toppling into the abyss of.
You've already been there
gibberish.
6 times already.
It's
You're not doing a great job.
I'm not. No, I'm.
You have to
failing.
rein him in. Like, get a
Yes.
muzzle on this man.
Why is it me? No, you
Shock
Because everything
collar.
you say has to do with. I'm
with
just-
foreskin. I mentioned that word once, and suddenly it's everything. So, what are just out of interest from the armada of cars you've owned? I'm just curious.
I had a great Bristol.
Oh, really?
74,
What Bristol was it?
40,
406?
something like that.
I just made that
mid
up.
70s.
Was that? I've always been intrigued because
Burgundy.
because they seem like they're kind of odd looking, but in like a fascinating sort of way. In the same way that what was that brand that it was a double-barreled name
Gordon Keeble.
No, oh well that too. No, Hispano Suiza.
Gordon Keeble.
Yeah.
That's pretty. I think I'm congratulating
Yeah,
myself
well,
for that.
the fog of you, the wizened brain, you pulled that out.
Let me just think. I'd have to go consult
the-
archive on my website.
But it's
Rove
kind of,
Cars.
it's kind of interesting because it's there. Was that a nice car to drive or not?
No.
No.
I had it restored and it was a piece of junk and falling apart and I got rid of it.
After you restored it, it was still a piece of junk. Continued to be.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Do you ever own
stuck.
a TVR? Just out of I feel like you wouldn't. But.
Speaking of pieces of junk,
Yeah.
I mean, I came very close to get a 350T before I moved to the UK. I went for a test drive in one. I would have liked that. I mean, it had a very pervasive, when I used to have smell prior to getting COVID 2 years ago, it smelt a lot like glue, kind of like my
to bring back
Janetta.
fond memories of your youth.
Yeah.
Huffing glue off your sweatband in the end.
Nah, I didn't go that route.
It was
Smoked
another
a lot
route.
of joints, drank a lot of
It
alcohol
was another route. Did you grow up in New York?
in Long Island.
Okay. Where in Long Island?
In Lawrence, it's a town
love
about
Lawrence,
17
man.
miles away. You don't
I
know
have
which-
summer in Lawrence, or regularly, Kenny.
It's horrible. It was awful.
So you grew up
terrible
in
childhood.
you grew up in the Island. Then what happened? You moved to New York.
I moved to New York. I went to school in D.C. Then I went to graduate school in New York. So I moved to New York. I lived there for 20 years and then moved to UK for 15.
So it's
And now
graduate school for dentistry.
Oh, God. I feel for you.
I
It's-
live,
I mean, yeah, thank
Mr.
you.
Producer, I
Thank
feel
you.
for you.
Thank you.
I hope you're getting paid to
I live-
I'm not.
suffering
This is charity work.
charity.
I live for
the basket case.
Kenny's exasperated size. It reminds me.
Actually, I went to the only school worse than dentistry school. I went to
Veterinary?
law school.
Okay. Were you going to be
Because
a
I
lawyer?
studied, no,
No.
I can't litigate myself out of a shoebox. But I studied philosophy and political science, and I had no idea about art.
Right.
Literally, because my mother passed away when I was young, and my father was not terribly affirming or nurturing in bringing me up. May explain a few things in my negative personality disorder. And I didn't even know that I never went to a museum until I was in university.
Sure.
I didn't know an art gallery existed until after graduate school. In fact, I didn't even know you could own art. I thought, stop smiling.
I'm fascinated with you. I'm just smiling with joy listening to your silky tones, man, and the gems of wisdom.
I call myself an idiot savant. I thought that an artist made a painting and it went to a museum, and that was the end of the equation. I did not know, literally, that you can privately own an artwork. And when I went to Andy Warhol's estate sale, procrastinating, I went into fashion after I took the bar exam. I worked all throughout school, told my family I was in night school, my employers, but there was no night school because I knew I basically defined my entire life for the first 10 years after school in the negative in terms of what I didn't want to do. I didn't want a regular job. I didn't want the kind of routine of doing the same thing all the time. And I knew I wanted to find something I could love and find a passion in life. So I didn't want to live for weekends, and I hate holidays. I just love what I do so much. And since then, after Warhol's estate sale, Sotheby's was gearing up for contemporary auction, and it was a revelation, an epiphany where it was not just Warhol's cookie jars and jewelry and watch collection, which you would have loved. He was deep into like classical Rolexes and stuff. And it was his collection that he traded with Basquiat and Jasper Johns and Robert Rauschenberg and David Hockney, extraordinary works. I mean, Basquiat's was selling then, if only I had that kind of dough, for like $25,000. Right. That today could be worth $50 million plus.
Did you buy anything at the estate sale? I mean,
no, I didn't. I couldn't scratch. A few months later, I saw an advertisement for an art show at a gallery, which was the first gallery I ever stepped into. And they had Cy Twombly, Sigmar Polka, German artist, and Joseph Beuys. And I wanted one.
As you would.
I had no money, but I had a job. So I went to JP Morgan Chase Bank, rocked up, and said, "Can I please have $10,000?" And they turned their head sideways like a schnauzer and proceeded to escort me out of the bank with no money. And then I had the manager, because I somehow managed to pass the bar through the haze of drugs and alcohol. And I had a part-time job as a writer for a law firm, and that's how I honed my writing skill. And I had the manager of the firm call the bank. I got a loan, and I became a dealer-to-dealer dealer. And I started to make art. So I'm completely self-taught. I'm now a professor. I've taught in the past. I mean, I teach for 15 years at University of Zurich, New York University, School of Visual Arts. In the past year, I've been making digital art for 30 years, and I've been embedding my own writing with my videos. And in the past year, since NFTs came about, I've lectured everywhere from Harvard Law School and Yale and Brown and Art Institute of Chicago, written for books for MIT, and wipe that
Holy
smile
shit,
off your face.
There's no smile. This is my normal face.
Take that smirk off your face. Are you married?
I've got rested.
Poor woman. I've got another
resting.
Woman I'm commiserating with.
You know what? I can't tell you how many people say that to me.
No, I think you're cute. You're a nice guy.
You want to go on a date?
No.
Okay.
Not if I hear foreskin stories.
So wait, so you're deep into now the digital art, like NFT space.
I even have the word NFTism, which
I saw the tattoo
tattooed right on my arm. So if NFTs go out of fashion, I'm going to go in heavy for laser surgery.
Tell me about the NFT thing. I'm at the stage in life, you know, when you're a kid and your parents have the VCR and the 12 o'clock is flashing, but they can't figure out how to adjust it.
Yeah, mine is now.
That's right. So mentally, the
cable box went down yesterday. It took me 3 hours to be able to watch.
That's where I'm mentally. I can't really. I sold some NFTs, but I can't really come to grips. I don't really understand
trading, flipping.
So you had them, but you didn't understand what you had.
He didn't know how he got them in his. How'd you open a wallet? For God's sake!
I had some friend of mine help me out with the whole thing because I don't.
Are you sure you actually have the funds?
Yeah, I was paid in Ethereum.
And then you flipped them.
No, I was paid in Ethereum. Which
so then you're speculating. He's master trading. Short term.
If by
short, I just read most people that buy NFTs, 90% do it for financial interest.
Well, what else?
I thought you were a collector.
Are you a secret crypto cowboy?
I haven't.
He's a car flipper, an NFT flipper.
Oh my God!
I'm just generally a dubious individual.
He's a speculator.
Yeah,
naked speculation.
But wait, could you give us like the 30-second elevator pitch on NFTs for people like Phil who don't understand? Or myself.
Okay, so I'll use for an example someone who hates NFTs and thinks they're all corrupt and criminal.
Okay.
David Hockney. David Hockney makes drawings on his iPad. And he had an exhibition at the Royal Academy in London recently, and he exhibited a series of photographic outputs from his drawings on his computer. Would you rather buy some shitty photograph that was outputted by the gallery for a couple $100,000, or would you rather own the file in which he originally created his work? So just consider it in the most simplistic terms, like a digital certificate of authenticity.
Okay, that makes sense.
That quieted things
well,
down.
But then you could print as many of those as you want and sell them yourself.
Listen, I get paintings made in China. I could paint 100 Van Goghs. I mean,
I did an art project. I had a whole series of paintings made in China.
Yeah,
it was amazing. I
remember
it was great because I emailed the guy. I was like, "Can you just show me a photograph? Can you just show me how the picture of the painting in progress, just so I can comment on it if I want to change some things?" So they sent me a picture of the guy who was painting my painting it and looking over his shoulder and
watching
smiling.
TV.
No, like smiling. Like it was like, yeah, see, here's the guy who's doing your painting. I was like, no, I need to see the actual painting itself, not the guy painting the painting. It was
if you buy a photograph from Richard Prince,
just like buying the negative of the photograph.
If you buy a photograph, they could reproduce it 1,000 million times. Or Warhol painted silkscreen paintings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Vice did a TV show replicating a Warhol silkscreen painting. And so, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. Everything is replicatable. People often you'll hear a criticism of NFTs, excessive environmental footprint from Bitcoin mining. That's a more legitimate gripe against it. They talk about crime and money laundering and tax evasion and grift and all the things that the art world has.
I was going to say these are art world things that they've been doing for a long.
It's not just the art world; it's the car world. What I say is crypto is not fucked up. It's people that are fucked up. There's a Bell's curve of integrity and morality in the world. Computers, Bitcoin, and crypto is a network of interrelated computers. There's nothing dishonest about computers. They're computers. It's the people that run them, operate them, and hack your wallet. Those are the ones. But then again, like my kid had his wallet hacked 2 weeks ago, where it was an ingenious ploy where they accepted an offer that was outstanding on one of his NFTs. They accepted the offer in his wallet, and as soon as the money came in, they took all the money out. But at the same time, my bank account was hacked, where somebody got into my email, they copy the way you communicate with your financial institution, and then they send an invoice in the same manner in which you're accustomed to doing so for your life or your business, and then they try to steal your money. And it goes to somewhere in this instance, it was an address in Hong Kong. Had I had enough money to cover the expenditure, which I didn't, surprise, surprise, I would have lost all my money and it would have been completely untraceable. So again, I mean, the same with this race car that I bought, which 10 years ago, and it's not an NFT, it's a car. And it was, to date, it remains the worst experience other than a loss in the family that I've ever had, in all seriousness.
So can you... I mean, you keep tiptoeing up to
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Give it a stretch. Give it, stretch it out a little bit.
Some more coffee.
Yep, have a little sip.
Tell us the.
Show us where the car hurt you.
Yeah.
From my toes to my brain and in the midsection. Okay, so I am prone to be a bit impulsive when it comes to cars.
I'm shocked, Kenny.
Especially when I was drinking institutional amounts of alcohol and drugs. But I went to pick up a 2.7 RS homologation car in Monaco, and I saw it was a 1973 2.8 RSR Mary Stuart factory Porsche prototype race car that came in fourth in Le Mans in 1973. Okay. It was called Mary Stuart because it had this crazy rear spoiler that was extended from a ducktail over the rear fenders and replicated. It was referenced to the high collar worn by Mary Queen of Scots. So I was smitten. And I am so not a race car person. I like cars meant for the road that have race car characteristics. And but I've never been, like I said, I never watch car races. I don't care about F1 and any of that kind of stuff. But this car was just exquisite. It was stunning. And it was raw. It had never been restored. And it was a beautiful thing. So I had it inspected, and there was known to be a replica. But, I mean, oftentimes when there's a famous race car, you'll have toys made and you'll have these replicas made. There's some other word. There's many words.
Tribute
car. There's like a a dozen different terminologies to describe. Yeah, whatever. So in the contract was the fact that we knew about this replica of this famous car that was driven by Gilles Van Lennep in Le Mans. And my insurance company went through it. My mechanic went through it. Car was unrestored. But like you say, when it's a race car, the body parts are fungible. So this was a prototype, meaning that from race to race, the Porsche factory itself would revise the car from different, it had a long tail, it had a short tail, it had various different guises over the course of its racing career. So I got the car. It was in a little exhibit in Concours show in Classic Le Mans in around 2000 and I don't know, 12, I'll say, around there. And Gilles Van Lennep and Octane wanted to write a feature on the car. So I was meant to drive around the track, and I had my kid there, and my kid was going to go in the car with Gilles Van Lennep driving this car that he had driven decades before. And I actually had the journalist drive the car because it was going to be featured in Octane, and it ended up on the cover of Octane as the greatest Porsche ever in like 2016, thereabouts. And it was a really wonderful experience. Shortly thereafter, when I got the car home into my office under my desk, I received an anonymous email from an address which was at like Porsche Lover. I had like, I actually, and it said, your car is fake.
Wow.
Those are fighting words.
That's terrifying.
That's all it said was your car is fake. And let's just say like I borrowed money to buy that car and it was not cheap.
Sure.
And I could not afford it and I impulsively bought it. And that was the email I got. So I knew some friends that were...
So nothing, just your car is fake and that's it.
I sent the email to practically like a private investigative person, untraceable email. So I tried to sell the car, and then there was this person who had the replica, Jacob Schachter, I'm going to say it because it's been in the newspaper. He was contesting and saying that he had the car. So I had England's...
Sorry, hang on. He was saying he had the real car.
Right, the one who had the known replica in California that he was racing, it turns out that he's claiming that he has the real car. So whoever sent me this anonymous email was affiliated with him, obviously. And it turns out what he bought was like a box of parts from a guy who had written a book on RS's Starkey.
So hang on.
And so the guy who's written a book about my car saying it fell off a truck and this guy bought parts from it, he sold him the parts. He sold him a box of hope. Anyway, so I had Andy Prill, who's one of Europe's most widely recognized experts in the Porsche community by far. He went to inspect these bits and pieces that Mr. Schachter has. And I want to make sure I don't get sued for to end up like Johnny Depp on the defamation.
Phil is going to come have a Taco Bell meal at your house.
That's right.
Huh?
And then use your bed.
What's that?
Why is that?
What is that?
Yeah, no, she took a shit in like his bed during an argument.
Oh, yes.
Well, as you do.
4 pounds of fecal matter. I think he referred to it. You're worse. No wonder you two work together. He's talking about dicks and you're talking about poops.
Together we're the full system.
It's all very
So I sent my expert to both a city in California and in Oregon, and they inspected. This guy had a shell from '74 manufactured after my car won Le Mans, came in fourth, raced in Le Mans. He had an engine that was an RSR engine unaffiliated with the car and bits and pieces, and he claimed to have a chassis plate. So...
Hang on, can I just interrupt for a second? So you get an email that says your car's fake. Okay, so...
And I had consigned it to Gregor Fiskin in the UK to sell it, and then this...
When there's a lot of, I'm sure there are plenty of incidences when people may accuse your car of not being a real thing.
This happens all the time.
Yeah. So what possible proof did they?
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
So this had been like I tried to sell the car. We got a lawyer. I sent Prill. They had a mechanic called Neil Bainbridge, who's another Porsche person in the UK. He's the one-armed Porsche mechanic, and he inspected the car. And at the same time I was getting my ankle MRI'd from a skiing mishap, my car was getting an MRI to check the chassis and the chassis plate and all. This went on and on and on and dragged on for years. Finally, I had a contract to sell. It went quiet, and I had a deal to sell the car. And right before the deal was consummated, it was invoiced through former RM auctioneer Max Gerardo. And right when they got the car inspected, this shallot mentioned that he was going to sue me about the car, and the deal fell through. I moved to New York 3 years ago. My wife didn't even know the address of the house I rented because she was stuck in Europe for a while.
Right.
And I was walking down the street, and someone said, "Are you Kenny Schachter? I got your mail by accident." So I said, "Oh, thank you." They handed me the envelope. It was like in the movie, you're being served.
Right.
So I strangled her, and then.
But wait, I'm
and
still
now I'm
confused.
facing murder charges. I got my car inspected at the Porsche factory with a Swiss lawyer and another person transcribing the 4 hours of dialogue during the inspection of my car at the Porsche factory. All of this was recounted in Octane magazine, where the car featured on the cover. And Norbert Singer, who is the Mick Jagger of Porsche mechanics.
I know who he is.
He's had his fingerprints on 16 Le Mans winning cars for Porsche. He inspected the car from soup to nuts, top to bottom, every screw. And he said unequivocally, this is the car. Finished.
Okay.
And the way the legal system is set up in this country, I got sued, nevertheless.
For what?
For that my car was inauthentic. And we've had depositions. The legal fees are staggering. In this country, unlike the UK, for bringing a frivolous, ungrounded lawsuit, the person who initiates the legal proceeding is not liable for legal fees if they lose the case.
Is that right? I thought if you lost, you had to pay legal fees in the States.
That's in the UK. No. Believe me. I'm a lawyer. What are you looking at him for?
I'm
a lawyer.
I took the
LSAT once.
I just did.
10 out of 14 was like a pretest. It was, didn't study. I wasn't going to law school, but
don't try and
don't look at me for
to appease your parents.
Yeah, like don't look at me.
I did the LSAT. See, I got 3 out of 10.
When I went into art after I managed to pass the bar, like my dad, I'll never forget, sat across from me and literally tried to force me to quit art. Can you imagine?
Yeah,
and now
I can.
My art has been collected by a museum in Germany.
So wait, hang on. Okay.
It's still pending. I've spent ungodly sums of money. And now the guy that I bought the car from in Monaco is close to like giving something to this scumbag that sued me. And he has nothing. He has a box of parts, none of which. And then like he claimed the one part that possibly could have been tied to the car, this chassis plate. Norbert Singer said they never used chassis plates on race cars. End of discussion. So we're just at the point of going to trial, which will cost me another 6 figures of fees. And I basically harassed the guy that sold me the car to like make it stop. I mean, I had a deal to sell the car that was.
Do you still have the car?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it
was in the States?
It was chosen by the Duke of Richmond to be in the Festival of Speed at Goodwood, and it was in the paddock with the Porsche factory race cars, gone over by the whole factory team.
Right.
The car is the car,
right.
But you could raise a cloud over title, like just by nature of doing so. And that I have I know someone else who had a D-type. It happened to him. And then this stuff goes on all the time, especially with Porsches, because the design has barely changed in like 60 years. And, people buy chassis numbers and then build a car around it using legitimate parts. There's just so many different ways that this type of fraud is effectuated in the car world. And it almost dissuaded me from ever wanting to even get in a car again.
It's funny how you can have an experience like that. Well, it's not actually funny at all.
No,
but
it's not funny.
It's deeply unfunny. Where you have an experience like that, and then it severs.
It colors every.
It severs any joy that you.
But I bought the car from pure passion. I had out of all the cars I had, I never once had a view the way you flipped all your NFTs for money.
For zillions.
I never it never occurred. I got into cars because I love cars. I love the design. I had Zaha Hadid, the amazing Pritzker Prize winning Iraqi architect. She designed 2 cars for me and a boat, one of which is a concept model I just sold to the Eli Broad Museum from Michigan State University, which is on exhibit in a show I curated now where my Lancia is sitting. I have a Fulvia Fanalone in chocolate brown.
I also had a Fulvia Fanalone.
It's such a cool car.
It's a great car.
I love it because nobody knows what it is.
It's the thing that's amazing.
It's really fun to drive.
I had a Fanalone that was owned by the Lancia family.
Oh, fantastic!
And it was on a. And apparently it was sold because Mrs. Lancia found it too feisty, and she wanted
great seats in that car too. They have little cutaways in the side to save weight.
But the whole car is so exquisitely beautiful,
it's so small, concise.
Well, the thing about I feel like the problem with the reason why that car doesn't do well, I think, is because in the American market, it's not particularly masculine or muscular. Like it's a perfectly taut, balanced.
It won the Monte Carlo Rally.
No, I know that. But if you look at the design, it doesn't have the kind of muscularity that people, particularly in this country, seem to like.
And it's called a Fulvia, like a Vulvia.
And now you're in the gang too. Welcome aboard. It only took an hour. It only took you an hour to get in the gang.
Why do you make a foreskin joke now? Come on, Mazel Tov.
Fulvia. So, I have a Lancia Fulvia. Yeah. Oh, nice. It's ripe for the...
Look at you. You falling down the road.
I'm sweaty now.
Yeah, see? Now that's more like it. That's just COVID. So
anyway, but I got rid of all my cars. I have the Lancia, but I have a really cool little thing, which is just boarding a ship in Southampton in the UK on its way to New York City. And it'll probably be the death of me because it's the size of a keychain. It's a 1976 Auto Bianchi A112 Abarth.
Yeah, that is. It's pocket size.
It is the first hot hatch before the early Volkswagen Golf. Yeah. And that's a fun, great little car to drive.
So
driving that in New York City, it's like an SUV will be picking me out of its teeth. Because it is not the brightest car to drive in New York City.
I really like driving cars in New York City. I find it...
Really?
Yeah, I find it super...
There's a sport to it.
It's kind of video gamey.
But it's just so gritty. I like gritty, not both. Gritty, Gritty, but also there's just a grid. There's no turns. There's no corners.
Yeah, but there's holes in traffic. But there's holes in traffic, which
there's holes in the street. There's holes. If I go into a pothole, you'll never hear from me again.
In that car, yes. Yeah, in that car, yes.
So
it doubles as a keychain.
You and I we're the same in the sense that I'm always drawn to aesthetics. Like that's the thing when people say, "Oh, I got a new car," and they say my first question is, "What color is it?" Like I don't care. You know what I mean?
I like the weird. I like the P. I had a Mercedes 1986 Estate turbo diesel.
Yeah.
And it was pea green. And inside there were 7, I counted 7 finishes in the interior of the car. Fabrics, carpets, leathers. Yeah. It was extraordinary. And each one was a different variation of a hideous 50s kind of pea green. I saw
an amazing pea green Jaguar XJ, 12-cylinder XJ coupe on Sunday. And it was the same thing. It was like an orgy of pea green shades inside, outside, all of it. The shag carpet, all of it was like this but that's how they used to do it. My family's first car that was an Austin Maxi from the 70s, which was a symphony of brown turd colors. Like inside, outside was mustard, and then it was just all kind of, that's how they did it. It was all
brown's a cool color.
Now it is.
What was that? Porsche has another apple green color in the 76 Turbo, which I just saw one coming up at auction. Fabulous color. I love the Pasha seats. Those
I love Pasha seats, man. I love Pasha seats. I'm actually going to do a car of mine in radium green.
Nice.
I was going to go Oratium green.
Nuclear. That sounds like a nuclear fallout.
Yeah. It's a Porsche color, apparently. I'd never seen it before.
I had this one friend who's a painter in the UK, and she was not the nicest person and would always criticize the fact that I loved old cars and accused me of having a midlife crisis, making fun of this hobby of mine and infatuation with industrial design and these old cars. Yeah. Then she ended up making like her most noted body of work, painting Pasha car interiors, and the Porsche Plaid is extraordinary.
Wait, hang on. She took the Pasha interior design and did what with it?
She made paintings of car interiors.
Oh, I see.
One of them is called Kenny's Car or something like that.
I see. All right. So now, do you find that you are maybe coming back to cars slowly with the purchase of the 3-cylinder keychain? Is it?
No, I had that for 5 or 6 years already. I just left it in London.
Okay.
But I decided to ship it here, and now I need to borrow a parking space in your garage. That's why I'm here.
You know what? You may be able to...
And don't lie to me and tell me you don't have room, because I know you have room.
It's also a very small car. Like you could.
Now we've gone to the root of why you accepted my invitation.
You think I just came here to be abused by you and hear about your penis for 2 hours?
Well, there's a DVD I'd be happy to give you, man, that has a more thorough expose of my organs.
The sex tape in all your cars.
Yeah, that's right, man. It's very short.
I'd like to see it in your Stratos.
You could probably...
That would be something.
Well, actually, funny, when I sold the Stratos, I've plunged into like a massive depression. I mean, automotive-related depression. For like 6 months, I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I've been in one for 10 years. So.
I know, man. I mean, look, it's nothing like what your experience. I can't even imagine.
It's just so awful. Like. Again, like it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with cars. It has to do again with this kind of like imperfection of people.
Sure.
And the greed of like. And it's shocking that, like, in the end, there's going to have to be a settlement made to get this person to go away so I can sell my car.
So is he alleging that he's saying yours is fake?
Oh, let's change this.
Okay, all right. It's just
my car is real as could be.
No, I know that. I know
he's claiming
but he's saying it's fake. But then is he claiming his is real?
Yes. He has no parts.
Okay.
He doesn't have any parts. He has a history file he bought from that could be vaguely associated
Norbert
with some
Singer allegedly used to own my 924, and I was really excited when I heard it. Wayne Levin, Bayside Disposal.
I had dinner with him, and he was one of the most down-to-earth, spectacular. He had such great stories where...
Well, how can you not?
There was a crazy story. There was a pre-Le Mans race one year.
What is that? Like a warm-up in the parking lot?
It's a warm-up, but not in the parking lot. It's a full-on race, and... None of them could scrape together on the Porsche amongst the drivers and the mechanics and Norbert Singer. They could not scrape together the fee to enter the race.
The pre-race or the main
pre-race.
Race? Okay.
So Norbert Singer told the referee, "I'll pay you from the winnings." And they
no pressure to the drivers.
And they let him race, and he won the race.
Wow, that's a good story.
Incredible.
Yeah.
He was such an extraordinary man and so humble and... I mean, yeah, really cool people. So, I mean, look, I'm dissuaded, but I love cars. And like I said, like, because I didn't even know that art was a thing, from an early age, like I was ripping out pictures in National Geographic and Road and Track.
I thought we were trying to keep this a family show, man, with your National Geographic exploits.
Oh,
but
no.
really, that's the same model for like, I had a wall in the 70s made out of cork in my bedroom, and I would cut out all these magazines.
Right.
Oh, stop. Let me finish
I'm just nodding. I'm just smiling, and I haven't said anything untoward.
And I used to make all these collages on my wall because I was isolated, lonely, quasi-catatonic, and I'm still kind of, my artwork is very much the same kind of digital collages, making videos and manipulated photographic work.
Can we just talk about the Zaha Hadid thing for a second? Did you commission her to design cars, or she just made them and you
That's a funny story.
Them?
Like, I thought I would build a building by Zaha. So before I even met her, she had yet to win the Pritzker Prize, and she had yet to build a building in the UK where she had toiled away for 35 years. And she had won a famous competition to build an opera house in Cardiff. And because the British were so racist, they couldn't bring themselves to let her actually build the building. And they took it away from her unceremoniously, just deprived her of this competition that she outright won. And they pulled the commission, and she couldn't build the building. So for years, she continued. This is, I mean, in all seriousness,
One seriousness.
I wasn't an architectural fanatic, but I love great people that have done extraordinary things. And this is a woman against
That's why we like each other.
Against all. This is exhausting. I need a nap.
You need a nap.
Against, would you shut up? Against all odds, this woman persevered. And like my whole career is based on pure passion and determination and being self-wrought and just never, the art world is so exclusionary and so hierarchical. We talked about mini design and accessibility, and I just love creating opportunities for other people, and just by stick-to-itiveness and dedication, that's why I've accomplished everything I've accomplished, including this wonderful podcast that I'm
which is the pinnacle,
partaking in.
The pinnacle of your achievements.
Yes,
I feel like after this, Kenny, you could probably retire.
So I love Zaha. So I commissioned her firm before I met her. I just cold called the firm, And they created some proposals for a design for a piece of property I acquired in Hoxton Square in the UK back in 2003. And Zaha is a very formidable person, and she's known to express herself in no uncertain terms.
That will upset the English.
It upset a lot of people.
I'm sure.
She gave it to me a few times. I once saw her assistant, and he was so disheveled. I said, "You look like you've been thrown out of a car," speaking of cars. And he said, "How do you know?" She threw him out of a moving car. You have to love someone like that. Right. Anyway, so then I loved the progressive nature of the designs that her firm was doing, and I became friendly with – she had one partner throughout her entire career who's now inherited the firm. This is the first time in history that an architectural practice has been bequeathed to someone, Patrick Schumacher, and the company is tripled in profit and projects breadth. So anyway, so I had asked Patrick in the beginning part of our relationship in 2004 if he would design a car for me. And he did. He got a team to do it. And then without telling anyone, I blagged my way. I basically got a free berth in the Excel, the London car show back in 2006 at this point when we finished manufacturing. And then I had never even told Zaha. And she cornered me, fittingly enough, in the parking lot and just let me have it. How dare you speak to people in my company and not speak to me? And she just screamed. I'm like, I was cowering. I'm like, I don't even know your phone number. And after that,
that's a terrible excuse. Oh my God, that's the worst excuse.
And we became incongruous yet fast friends and ended up traveling to a dozen countries from Korea to Azerbaijan, Spain, New York, all over the world, Turkey. I commissioned a dozen different design projects from her, a boat, another version of the car, and furniture.
This is amazing, man, because I'm a massive Zaha
Oh my God,
fan.
I just loved. I mean, we had lunch every week for years,
right.
And
so
she was a wonderful,
this is extraordinary.
Loyal and extraordinary human being, and I wouldn't even I haven't shut up for the past hour. I never spoke in her presence. I just absorbed.
Right.
I never told her what I did. Once when I won this
That's how you are with me, I find. You absorb.
Yes.
There's so much you absorb from
Your aura
Phil.
is radiating a great degree of accomplishment.
That's right.
I'm flawed just to be sitting across from you.
I
like your Sherpa more, to be honest with
you. So hang on. You commissioned the car. So how was it? Because I saw it. How was that thing? Where was it made? How was it?
The funniest thing was I got there was this amazing writer in the UK who actually wrote about the car in Autocar magazine, and he used to only write about horrible failed cars. Richard,
is he an Octane?
No, he was he was at Autocar for years.
Okay,
it'll come to me. But anyway. Yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
But how was it? Where was it made?
Oh, so the funny thing was after this art, I knew
this is like talking. Wow, you need a Sherpa.
Help the agent. You need
a conversational Sherpa.
Shut up. I need a doctor. Is there a doctor in the house? I'm having a heart attack.
You need a seeing eye dog, man.
So I somehow managed to end up lecturing at one of the most esteemed departments of automotive design in the world at the Royal College.
Okay.
Along with Pasadena. It's probably the world's greatest car design department. And I lectured with Frank Stevenson, and from Ferrari and Maserati. Sure. And I had this 3-wheel car, concept car, that was going to be hydrogen based. And the car was meant to drive upright in the city. And as you
I've seen it.
Yeah. So as you accelerated, it would have a hydraulic suspension, and it would lower the center of gravity when you were on the highway. And I ended up lecturing at the Royal College, and then I spent 2 years traveling all over the world to try to get this car manufactured. Okay. And they say famously, how do you make a small fortune in the car industry? You start with a big one.
Right.
So I immediately got dissuaded. I didn't immediately. It took me 2 years. I went to kit car manufacturers. I went to Puch in Austria, like the German Jeep manufacturer. And as we came closer to potentially building a road-going prototype, I was asked to come back to the Royal College to lecture, and we had version 2 of the car rather than a 3-wheel car, like more, the notion of practicality set in and reason. Right. So he made a 4-wheel car. And at that point, it didn't look all too dissimilar from some other prototypes that the students were rendering themselves. And when I gave the second lecture and I put up images of this 4-wheel car, which to them was just another ho-hum prototype, I mean, they started to give me hell, like criticizing me. And then the fire alarm rang and I was like, woohoo. And I ran out of the building and that was the end of.
You triggered that yourself.
Yes.
You're like, you told your assistant, do the fire alarm now. Now's a good time.
I need an assistant. I need a team. Everyone in the NFT space has a team. I need a team.
But are they a real team or are they like a fictional team? I feel like everyone has a team, but they're not really real people.
Okay, I think I'm done.
That's it? You want to go home? Nap time? All right.
That's all right.
What else do we have to talk about?
That's it, man. That's it.
I still love cars. You're a nice guy. I like in all seriousness, you have a really cool, quirky, I just don't like ordinary things. And I just like,
I'm the same.
And there's so many, it's a shame that cars have become so homogenous, like modern cars.
Right.
I miss the quirky, the unusual, the downright. There's good, bad art. I am attracted to bad art, but I say it in the most endearing way. I call my collection crap. Most of it is under any interpretation. But, I just think like celebrating human peculiarity and eccentricity.
Well, for me, there's nothing more interesting to me and more admirable than imagination.
Yeah.
And so when I see, when you collect things, whether it's cars or watches, whatever it happens to be, I'm so always really impressed when I look at people's cars and it's not what I expect. It's a reflection of imagination, of an interest in the darker corners of things. And that to me is always fascinating.
It sounds silly, you think of someone saying, I remember when hamburgers were 5 cents. But I just wonder, is it really that things are becoming more generic, more the same? And you look at art, and a lot of art is so commercial and people want what their friends have. And sometimes I worry that is connoisseurship and old notions of taste and just quality somehow seem to be slipping a little bit. There's always going to be great things being made and unusual things, and people have dreams and visions and the will to follow through with it. But it just seems like even in the art world, there are artists like Kaws, who was a toy designer, and now he makes these generic, takes my favorite characters from growing up, in Sesame Street, and puts X's through their eyes, and then makes 500 of the same paintings, and even Damien Hirst. And it's a little.
Damien Hirst used to be
he was a great artist.
I remember. I was thinking.
And he sold his soul. He's making crap.
What was the
pure
name?
Shit right now.
What was the name of the shark in formaldehyde? Because that was the best title of.
I will
of an
tell
art
you
piece.
the impossibility of death in the mind of someone living, which is just fabulous.
To me,
his titles alone were great.
Yeah, to me, that title was an extraordinary piece.
What
of
happened
art.
was imagine a higher being telling you can have your own money press and print as much money as you wish. And you have to just employ your own discretion as to how much you'll get carried away doing so. And he has a 30-year younger girlfriend, and he's walking around and blazing with Versace on his shirts, and it's just making crap. And it's a shame because,
but he himself is not making the majority.
No, but that doesn't matter. I don't care if you're having someone make it if it's good, but it's not even good. He's making Disney characters out of marble with pieces missing, and it's just bad. It's just bad art.
What do you think of Daniel Arsham?
I was just because you read my mind.
He said pieces missing, and I was like, I think I know where this conversation is going.
The Damien Hirst, Jerry Saltz, the esteemed Pulitzer Prize-winning critic, he posted Damien's new work of these marble, expensively rendered Disney characters with these bits of pieces missing and shells on them. Sure. And I wrote, "Are you sure?" I call him Daniel Ashram. But I've criticized a lot of his work. He actually went to a good art school, and yet look, I would never say these people are not. I'm not a bitter old man, more or less. But they make a lot of. Daniel Ashram is a very successful entrepreneur. I wouldn't really say a lot of what he does is art because he just makes things in endless series. Well, he's affiliated with 27 companies and basketball teams.
The thing about Arsham to me is that he's clearly incredibly smart. But he's mastered the idea of
making money.
Well, yeah, and he makes stuff that's incredibly buyable and incredibly sellable. and incredibly Instagrammable. Like all the it's.
But I mean, I think it's a good like in terms of art. There's a new genre over the past 10 to 15 years, and it's a hybrid between fashion and luxury goods.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't consider. I mean, because Daniel is a Porsche fanatic, and
don't get me started about those Porsches.
Yeah, but he posted some video and I liked it, and then he reposted. I can't believe Kenny Schachter actually liked one of my things because I've criticized him so much in the past.
Right.
And he said, look, he's brilliant, and I'd be stupid to say that he's not, because he is.
Yeah.
But it's just, for me, it doesn't fall within my notion of what constitutes an artwork. Art is meant to like be something that affects, I mean, people say, like, how do you define a great piece of art? And I think of studying law, and there was a case before the Supreme Court adjudicating the issue of pornography, and the judge said,
you know when you see it.
I can't write it and describe it, but I know it when I see it. And great art touches me, makes me cry, makes the hair stand up on my arm.
Yeah.
And so much of the art that you see today from these people we mentioned, it has more to do with this calculated design, endless series. I mean,
but I totally agree, man. I mean, that's exactly how I feel, because it's an
Well, they're collectibles. They're making collectibles.
It's a very refined version of Franklin Mint.
It's not refined. No, I'd rather have a coin from Franklin Mint. There was more artistry in a coin whacked out by Franklin Mint.
I mean, all the art I've ever made has always been has been so, for the most part, incredibly uncommercial, in the sense that and it's funny because as an artist, I can look at Arsham and see how smart it is, how beautifully positioned it is, as you say, in this Venn diagram intersection of commerce and fashion and branding and kind of photogenicness, even though that's not really a word, but it makes it but it's, you know, the thing is, it's great art to have in your living room. It's great art to have in
my living room.
Well, no, not in mine either. But it's great art to have in the guest bedroom. Like, it's easy to buy, and it's a brand that people go, oh, you've got an Arsham. That's amazing, right?
It's a good thing to buy if you want to flip.
Well, yeah. So for me, of course, being the NFT flipper that apparently I am. Well, yeah, I mean, it's true, man. But I also would say this about art. I suspect there's always been in art, or at least in the people who buy art, I would imagine that a large percentage of people who buy it because
because their friends have the same one.
Their friends have the same thing.
And it's expensive, and people know how much they paid for it.
It's like
a Bored Ape, and even a crypto punk.
It's like a Birkin bag. Like, you buy 100%. It because then people go, or it's like wearing a Richard Mille watch. You buy it because people go, he has enough money to buy a Richard Mille watch.
Taste, under quotation marks.
So it's purchased taste.
But I think the difference is, it used to be that, like, an artist like Jeff Koons or younger artists that have become very successful, once they get successful as artists, then they begin to commercialize themselves, and they get contacted by Hermes and Louis Vuitton, and then they do products for these companies based on their fame as an artist. And nowadays it's the opposite.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
KAWS became famous for toys, collectible toys, and he's like, if I just ramp it up in size, I can call it a sculpture and add 2 zeros to it.
Right.
And that's the careers of these people. Also, like, again, like, we're back to this initial discussion, and then this discussion, I'll leave you alone. But, like, the Mini and its extraordinary effectiveness as a work of democratic design, like, some people equate great art with lots of money, and that's just not true. And some of the artists that I've cared the most about in my life, like Paul Thek, Thek, he died in '88 from AIDS, destitute. And since then, like, I don't think he ever sold a work in his life more than 20 to 30,000. And since then, I curated an exhibition at Pace, and we sold a piece to a museum for over $1 million. And I think that it's better to be like, I mean, the only thing worse than being behind the time is to be too far ahead of the time.
Sure.
Because people think in a collective sense, and, like, your car collection and your aesthetic is definitely not a consensus collection.
That's right.
A guerra, what is that?
Guara?
It comes from the jungles of Brazil.
Sounds like pigeon poop or something. The word for...
Listen, man, I mean... it's interesting.
I like that. You have a point of view. It's unusual.
Well, I think...
And that's what attracts me to your aesthetic.
The job of an artist, and I think, is to be in front of people. It's to be ahead of where society is thinking. And then eventually, I think in some look,
that's just not good for your bank account.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not good.
Oh
for your
shit!
bank. You have to run.
I am late for lunch.
All right, Kenny. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
man.
you very much.
It was a real delight. It was
Great way to leave. I just realized.
Just leg it.
I have lunch in 5 minutes.
It was fantastic. Thanks again.
Thank you very, very much for having me. All joking aside, you're an extraordinary person.
No.
I appreciate it. Let's not be too nice to each other.
That's going to get
Let's
awkward.
just leave it like that. Thank you very much.
Man.